What's up, y'all? This is BP.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? This is Star Child.
It's your boy, Kid Dream.
Chris.
What is going on, everybody? And welcome back to Gamer Credits. It's going to be Season 3, Level 4. Let's introduce the players. Player 1, BP.
Yo, kid, what's good, man? How you been?
I've been. What about you?
Pretty good. I just actually thought of something, man. I think you still got my Horizon Forbidden West.
I do actually still have your Horizon Forbidden West.
Yeah, it's so funny. It just popped in my head, like, yo, you hadn't seen that game in a minute. Where'd it go? And it was like, nah, kid got it. It was like a whole dialogue I had in my head, bro.
Are you trying to play it again?
I saw they had DLC, so I thought about it, but I'm not quite there yet. So I'll keep you posted.
Well, just let me know when you want it back.
Sure thing, man. That'll be next year, but sure thing.
Probably, more than likely. Then we got player 2, Captain Starchild.
Starchild, man. But how's it going, y'all? What's been going on with you?
You gonna let me borrow game 2? Never give it back?
Hey, man. Luckily, I do support buying physical copies, so yeah, sure.
Oh, nice.
Bet.
That went well.
We'll figure out the details later.
But, you know, you got to put that stipulation that he stops calling you Captain, right?
Please, man, please.
I'll think about it.
Sounds like a bargain.
Then, of course, we have player 3. It's your boy, Kid Dream. You shouldn't have. It's okay. Thanks, guys.
I mean, I've always done that for our episodes, so I guess you haven't paid attention, but that's cool. It's all right.
Wow. Maybe I just want to acknowledge it now. This guy.
Well, that works too.
So before we hop in, does anybody have a gaming moment of the week? The answer should be yes.
You know what? It is for me, and I hope same for you, Star, but I'll go first just to give you some time. Gaming moment really kind of rested with Destiny, which actually turned into a gaming moment for all Destiny players. Reason why I say that is apparently there was this glitch that people found, the Destiny players found, where, long story short, not going to go into all of it, but it has to do with the crafting weapons part of the game. And they found a way to put like certain craftable items on weapons that that weren't supposed to have it. So just to give you an example, say you had an auto rifle that you were crafting, you were able to take like a intrinsic perk from like a grenade launcher or something like that and put it onto that auto rifle. So basically, essentially, you would shoot out like the auto rifle with like grenade rounds or something to that effect. So,
interesting. Okay.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was like I don't want to say game breaking, but it was people just going in and slaughtering everything, man. They just took the opportunity. People who I guess felt like, especially like solo players who felt like, man, they never kind of get through a dungeon or anything to that effect, and they just went in and just started obliterating things. Nightfall, Grandmaster Nightfalls, every type of content in there that was designed to be really difficult, just ran through and just breezed through everything, man. It was total chaos. Bungie themselves acknowledged it and just basically said, look, y'all have fun while we figure it out.
Wow, okay.
So that's why everybody kind of took that to heart. But unfortunately, that was followed up shortly with a DDoS attack, apparently. Well, at least legend what Bungie said. They got DDoSed shortly after that.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I know. So basically, the game became unplayable, like literally, like for the past 3 days.
Makes you wonder if it was really a DDoS attack or them just turning the servers off to fix this problem.
Listen, you would fit right in with all the conspiracy theorists out there, but they were saying it's DDoS, and some people even presented some stuff to kind of sort of prove that point that it was happening, but it's just hard to say. It's just
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Glad Destiny 2 is still getting some love.
Somewhat, yeah. It's really hanging in there somehow.
Real quick, I was talking to one of my other friends the other day, and Destiny 2 actually came up, and I was like, yeah, we could hop into Destiny 2. That sounds fun. It always had fun gameplay. So as I pulled it up on
What?
Steam, I was kind of reading through the comments, and there was a review, uh, and one of the reviews I read was pretty funny to me. It was like, Destiny 2, the best, most expensive free to play game ever, and I was like, yeah, that's why we don't play this game. Okay, cool. And then immediately threw the idea out of my mind.
I was about to say that you
Mhm.
snap back to reality after that. Got it. Wow.
Exactly,
Yeah, because
exactly.
you took me off guard when you said that. I was like, wait, kid considering Destiny 2? What? No, that's crazy.
Hey, I've always enjoyed the combat. I've thought the gunplay
Mm-hmm.
and the just the gameplay in general. Bungie does a phenomenal job when it comes to that. So I've always enjoyed playing the game. It's just all the stuff after it makes it hard to play, especially if it isn't your full time game.
Yeah. No, I got you. That makes sense. Yeah. So, and plus you had plenty of other games since then, like Baldur's Gate. So
I cannot wait for that to get crossplay so we can play. So you guys can
Yeah.
experience the magnificent creation that is Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm
Okay,
definitely
okay.
looking to get in there. So for sure.
Star, what about you?
Not for this week. You can bypass me on it and go directly to the amazing times you had. So yeah,
Oh
I
boy.
have nothing.
Wow. All right. So next week you gotta do better. Next week you gotta do better.
I will
Um,
try.
As a matter of fact, you know what? I'm gonna make sure by the next time we do this, I'm gonna have us play like the Mortal Kombat. You can go ahead and get settle that that challenge out the way, get that out the way.
Wait,
all
who's
right.
getting an MK1?
Well, I mean, I might end up having to get it, man. Just to act down that challenge, because you basically, you know, put it out there that it'd be no contest, and I was feeling some kind of way about that. So yeah,
All
we
right.
gotta, we
All
gotta,
right. It's been recorded. That means it's happened. Everybody heard it.
yeah, man. So or I just thought about I can actually roll by the crib, man. Just pop up and be like, hey, man, let's do it.
Hey, I am all for it.
Pause. I don't
Again,
know
it's
what
been
I don't,
recorded.
I don't know what
Yo,
that was. Yeah, I need to pause
yo.
that just in case, just to be sure. We're talking about gaming, but I'm gonna throw that pause out
Hey,
there.
Oh,
first of
y'all
all,
gaming all
to
right.
hey, first of
See,
all, we don't want to make
so
anyone
I know
feel
kid, man. That's why I did
uncomfortable.
that because I was
Listen,
like, I know
listen,
kid.
listen. Now we have a diverse audience, so it's not any issues. But Brian is married, and by the way,
Who?
we
Who?
don't swing
Who?
that way, but we don't
Who?
mind
Who?
any of this.
Then
Okay,
the man
so
put my name out there too. So
Who?
I guess the pause is like,
about 10 times, like 10 times in the last year. I know I've been doing this, and I just caught
he
myself.
just,
And let me shut up now.
Oh man.
he's not even
Oh,
gonna say sorry. No, he's just like, hey man,
He
I've been
hey,
just
saying
keeps it
it all this
moving.
time. Just whatever.
yeah.
Hey,
This is
at
see,
least,
this
at
is
least
why
he
we.
just owns up.
You're
Yeah.
good. You're good. Yeah, it's all
Well,
good.
I guess my little brief gaming moment. My friend and I actually hopped back into New World. Amazon's MMO that came out actually a couple years ago now. At this point, geez, I think 21 and 22. Um,
Hmm.
it's I dabbled like only a few hours during launch,
Okay.
but it's getting its first paid expansion. I think sometime like next week or something, sometime in October. So we were kind of like looking for something to do, something to play, and it came out that I still had New World, and so we just was like, "Hey, you want to play?" And I was like, "Sure." New expansion. I'm always down for playing some more MMOs. So been hopping back into that and been having a pretty good time. They really feed. I don't know if it's OCD or what, but
Mm-hmm.
it's a really resource heavy game. So you're supposed to go out, get the crafting materials, bring it back to town, and craft the items and stuff that you want. So it's really satisfying as you're just going out questing. You see that tree, you go cut that tree down. And like every
Mm-hmm.
time you do it, you see a little XP bar show up, and your lodging, logging will be, it'll tell you how much more you got till you level up and what level it is. You see a boulder, you can go mine it. You kill an animal, you can go skin it. It's just really rewarding because it feels like everything you're doing, you're making progress, and it's just really getting those dopamine level hits for me. That's just really been fun. So it's been
Interesting.
been been having a blast, and plus I just needed something to kind of kill time until Spider-Man comes out. So
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Nice, nice.
Interesting. I mean, I would imagine Baldur's Gate would have been doing that, but
Listen, after we beat it, because this is the same friend I was playing it with. After we
Got it.
beat it, we did make new characters to play it again, but he unfortunately has not had the urge to play it anymore.
Got it.
At least for right now. So unfortunately, our second playthrough is kind of on pause right now. And I've still been playing my solo character on my own, but I try to save it for when I have more time to kind of play. Just because it's not really a game where you can get. I mean, you could, but you really can't just sit down for like 30 minutes and play. You know, it's something you really want to commit a couple of hours to. So I usually try to like reserve it for like the weekends or when I have way more time. So I haven't played it in quite a while now. That's one of the reasons why I'm really looking forward to the crossplay to play it again, because I just want to keep playing it, but right now I don't really have people to play with.
Got it. Okay. All right.
Mm.
Well, hang on, man.
He's
We're on the
throwing a
way.
hint out
Or I'm
there.
on the way anyway.
Yeah.
I want to speak for
A
Star.
major hit. Oh, he gonna get it. Don't worry about that.
Wow.
If I have to make that
One
his
way or
Christmas
another.
present, he gonna get it.
Right.
Christmas,
Hey, that's
yeah.
actually not too bad. Yeah, it's coming up soon.
Almost, shoot.
Yeah.
But before we get into the main topics, we want to hit y'all with a little rapid fire round of little nuggets of news, as BP called it earlier.
Nuggets of news, love it. I didn't know I called it that, but hey, I'm with it.
So go ahead and take it away from me. What was that first one you wanted to kind of bring up?
So apparently the news broke that Jim Ryan of PlayStation, I guess the CEO, right? He is supposed to be retiring, I guess, next year in March, I want to say.
Hey,
So
okay.
yeah. So I just kind of real quick wanted to see what our thoughts were on that. Like, do you think it's a good thing, bad thing? Like just, what do you think?
Mm. I have no thoughts on it. I mean,
Well, I
do
mean, I think you kind of
CEOs
gave the
really
thought.
have? I would say, do CEOs really have an input when it comes to gaming? They are just mainly not there because of that reason. So the ones that I feel like do step down that will impact the gaming of Sony, he's not one of them. So
hmm So really no impact whatsoever, you think, right?
no, not
Yeah,
really.
gotcha. Okay. What about you, kid?
Uh, it's definitely an interesting change. It's really funny to me because when you think of like the big three, Sony, Xbox, Nintendo,
hmm
and when you look at the presidents of the companies, um, the biggest one, at least to me anyway, like the most like recognizable one is Phil Spencer, the boss of Xbox, and I just feel like Jim Ryan's a little recognizable, but I feel like he just doesn't have that like face within the gaming community as like a Phil Spencer has. So
Yeah.
I'm definitely okay with him stepping down. Also, there's a lot of decisions Sony has made in recent years. I'm always not a huge fan of.
Yeah.
Kind of like I think the next nugget you want to bring up about their stance on like PlayStation Plus and Game Pass and everything. So
Yeah.
I'm down to get new leadership in there and kind of see what ideas they have. Hopefully, it doesn't get worse, but change is not always bad, so I'm down for it.
Word. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I I'm not going to necessarily say anything bad, but I will say when I heard that news, for whatever reason, I just felt like a weird sense of relief, and I think it's because, man, honestly, with him, I feel like between him stating one thing and coming back later to try to say, "Oh no, I meant this, this way," or just give an example, like with the whole conversation about upgrading. I think it was like Horizon, for example. Like, if you bought it for PS4, you would be able to upgrade it for free to PS5. Was the initial conversation? I don't know if he specifically said
Mm,
Horizon, but I think he was just saying in general, or something to that effect.
yeah.
And then when it came out, there was like, "Oh, Horizon's going to come out, and you have to pay extra to upgrade to the PS5." It's like people were looking at him like, "But did you make a statement that contradicts that?" So it was just kind of things like that I kind of paid attention to over the course of time. Not to mention his whole kind of stance against Xbox, acquiring Activision and talking like, "Oh, it'll be the worst thing," and da da da, and they're gonna do this and this and that, and then there's people uncovered like, "Well, you follow the same practices and do the same thing," so it's like, what are you even talking
Yeah.
about? So it's just stuff like that I don't know, man. This never sat right with me with that guy, and it was just always something with him. Like, granted, I don't know him personally, so I wish him the best, like in a personal level, but just in a business set, it's like yeah, it was just some stuff about him, man. I was like, nah, you gonna have to go.
Yeah, yeah.
So, but
Rapid fire number 2.
so kind of go back to the gaming moment I mentioned about like Bungie mentioning their servers got DDoS. I kind of wanted to just bring it up to see like, because I know there's not a whole lot can be done with DDoS attacks, but provided that this kind of happened before and there's usually some pretty good measures that the companies can take out there to kind of help prevent or fight against it. I'm just
Mhm.
kind of wondering, what do y'all think about them falling susceptible to that and having their servers disrupted? Do you put it on them for not beefing up the security enough, or do you just say that kind of go along with what other people are saying, that there was really not a whole lot they can do about it?
Well,
I'm not an
it's
expert when it comes to yeah. uh, All I can say is that when they are noticing these type of things happening and it's like a becoming a regular occurrence,
Hmm.
they would need to start investing in that type of environment and trying to come up with ways to prevent it. And if they have not done so yet, that's a dumb move. And it looks like they haven't really done so yet. So again, it's one of those things where after a certain amount of time would this keep happening, it impacts these players from wanting to continue on going through the headache, and they may move on to other things. So it's players are not that dedicated to headaches. We want to get into games to release our stress and release our pressure, not try to get into the game and have more pressure. So at some point, this is
Hmm.
going to take a toll.
Yeah, gotcha.
yeah, it's 2023. It's always frustrating when you hear about these server issues and everything because it's like just invest in the technology, buy more servers like that. There's things that they could do. It always comes to the bottom line, the money. Companies don't want to spend
True.
money when they don't have
Mhm.
to, and it's like so
Yeah.
instead of things being addressed and taken care of and fixed, the burden is just pulling the players, and now we have to wait, and there's delays and queues and all this BS, and yeah, it's just frustrating, tired of the issues and everything like that. But I would just say, based off what you said earlier, BP, to me, the timing is just really fishy. You have a major uh, a bug glitch in the system
Yeah.
that really impacts the game, and all of a sudden, oh wait, the servers aren't working. Eh, Timing's a little fishy because, granted, I don't play Destiny every day or all that often anymore, but to my knowledge, I haven't heard very many DDoS attacks or server issues other than like
Yeah.
when a major expansion or something comes out. So it's just a little fishy. I'm gonna call a spade a spade.
Yeah, no, I got you. I got you. And the funny thing is a lot of people were kind of defaulting on like, well, the people who were believing that or kind of lean more towards it being a DDoS attack were basically saying that they just felt like it was somebody but hurt that they, that Bungie came in and patched those glitches out. And they were like,
Yeah.
no, I was having fun. Why'd you do that? But I don't know, man. I was kind of like, when I heard all that, I was like, I mean, it's possible, sure. But I was like, I just don't know if I buy it because that was a fun time that everybody was having. Like, and they knew it's not like I don't think there was anybody that was naive enough or disillusioned enough. I would hope they wouldn't be enough to believe that Bungie was just gonna leave that in the game. You know what I'm saying?
Oh
Like
yeah.
it was, especially with Final Shake
Mhm.
come in and all that, the newest. I was like, there's no way. Like like unless you were just that robbed of logic and common sense, like. Yeah, I just couldn't imagine that person being upset enough to say I'm a DDoS them because they took away my fun. It's like what? I don't know. I just never really. I don't know if I really buy it all the way, but who knows?
Yeah, that's definitely fair. It's
No.
definitely interesting to say the least.
Absolutely. So,
And
but
what
yeah,
was
I
the
think.
last one?
Oh, I had another one. Dang, I
Oh,
forgot.
it was about the Sony PlayStation Plus comment about Game Pass doesn't work or
Oh,
something.
yeah, I think that was generally the gist of it. Unfortunately, I didn't dig too deep into it, but I do remember that that was kind of the thing that came out, that there were comments made about Game Pass not working, and I think they provided actual reasons and commentary behind it, but I unfortunately didn't really get to dig too much into it. But I just wanted to, I guess, throw it out there real quick to see, do y'all? I mean, I kind of think I know Star's answer, but kid, like, do you feel like there's some grounds of arguments there to be made that it doesn't work?
No, I think they're just talking out their butt just because they don't want to go down that strategy. I think Game Pass is a phenomenal service that is provided. I think not only is it great for gamers because hey, instead of going out and buying Starfield, which is now a $70 game, you could just sub to Game Pass for even just a month to try it out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then that way you could a fraction of the cost see if you like the game, and then either unsub, or continue to sub, but you could, just pay a fraction of the price and be able to play that game. But then not only that, there's hundreds, if not thousands, of other games on that service. So it's like, you're getting a phenomenal value for your money, even though the
Yeah.
price does keep going up as everything else. But you're still getting a great value. And it's only going to continue to grow as more first party Xbox games comes out, which I know they have a lot coming out down the pipeline. But it's also good, I want to say, for game companies. I mean, it puts so many games in the eyes of players who would have never probably saw a game before, or even played a game before. Just for example, for me, real quick, there's an indie game that came out a couple weeks ago, Sea of Stars, I think. Hold on one second.
Okay.
Yeah, Sea of Stars. It's like a indie old school retro style game where like turn-based JRPG action and everything like that.
Ooh, turn-based. I
Um,
like the sound of that.
yeah, yeah, and I remember hearing about it. I was like, oh, that seems cool. I might pick it up one day. But then guess what? I found out it was coming day one to Game Pass. So, and I'm seeing a lot of people, I saw a lot of traction and people on the internet kind of talking about it and experiencing it. And
Yeah.
being on a service like Game Pass puts it in the eyes of so many more people who probably, I hate to say it otherwise, would have never seen a game like that. And from what I'm seeing, is getting great reviews and getting a lot of great attention. So it's a win-win, I think. And I think Sony they want you to buy the game. They want you to go buy Spider-Man and then also pay for PlayStation Plus. They want to double dip and get both sets of income. They don't want to cut out one and just have one or the other. They want both right now still. So I think it's just that corporate greed.
Interesting about the double dip. Okay. What about you, Star? What you think?
So
here we go.
I love those
I
sound
was
effects,
I,
man.
I would say this much, and not hating on Game Pass. It's a cool technology. We're moving to a digital world. It makes sense to have that option. But I'm a true believer and defender of physical copy games.
That's fair.
I just feel like there should be options, and people shouldn't be forced to go down one route. So as long as there's options, I'm not complaining. So let there be Game Pass and still let there be GameStop. So
That's fair.
Dang, not GameStop.
oh yes, yes, GameStop
hear the
or
GameStop.
or GameFly. I don't care, but let there be options.
Is GameFly still around?
It is actually funny enough.
Dang. Oh,
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, good for them. Because I used to love using them, but I didn't know they were still around. But cool. Okay. Well, I mean, I think that's fair, Star. Honestly, it's just because I like how you put out there that the physical media, because I think that's a lot of people's concerns too, is that we're moving far, more and more away from the physical media part, and that kind of really puts a damper on things, because once you realize that stuff's like digitally licensed and all that stuff, they can easily revoke it and you just lose your game forever. And it's that's definitely been a concern out there. So I think that is a valid point to make. So I kind of see both sides. I do see the benefit of Game Pass, like Kid said, where it can offer that exposure, and it's convenient for people who are just like, I just don't got the money to be spending like that amount of money of, it was 60-70 bucks for every title that I want to try out. You know what I mean? So, and you can turn it off at any point in time and come back later if you want. So it's just offers that good flexibility, but on the other hand, it does kind of, in a scary fashion, puts us more towards that digital convenience. And then we start to lose a little more sight of the physical part of it, like actually retaining the game itself, So it's, I mean, I lean more towards it being the good value now, but definitely something to keep an eye on. And just hopefully it doesn't get too out of hand where they force that point of, hey, now you have to have subscription services for games and not be able to buy them anymore. So, yeah.
Yeah, that writing is
Definitely
already
something
on
to
the
keep an eye on.
wall. But yeah, we definitely want to
Well,
keep
that-
an eye on that.
Yeah, I mean, and it's sad you say that, because I think like Netflix, for example, and it's like, I don't really think there's anybody out there that, I mean, there's probably a few people, but like they use the, how you get the disc in the old plan where you can get the disc sent to your home to watch, and
That's
the
still
DVD
around?
players, and that's what I mean. It's
There's
like
this some countries I
it's
think still have it.
Yeah, I would imagine so. So, but to your point, Star, that's what is a concern, is that may happen, and yeah, definitely on that
Yeah,
trajectory.
yeah, I agree. And again, I'm just gonna let it be at that moment and say, currently the balance is just right. It's like the soup isn't too hot or is it too cold? It's currently just right. So hopefully it stays this way.
Okay, well if not,
I
we'll
like
help.
that.
We'll count on you to mobilize the troops so you can come, fight against that, man, because we'll need that.
Yeah, man. We'll see, man. Just give me an Iron Man suit. I'll be there.
You better.
Love it. So yeah, but I think that wraps it up for that. So you want to
All
just jump
right,
into
perfect.
main topics?
Yeah. So I guess we could talk about this whole Unity mess going on first.
Mm.
Yes. Gosh,
And
that was crazy.
it's corporations never stop being corporations and always wanting more and more money. It's never enough for them, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And
Corp's
so
still
I
corporate.
think, yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. And I think what Unity did that pissed off not only the developers but so many fans as well. What was it? I think it was they were going to start charging people for downloading the game or something like that.
Yeah, I think they were charging the developers for every download of the game. Um, I mean, for each download of the game, and
Mm.
I think that also applied for like if you say you bought a game, you downloaded it, and then whatever reason you got rid of it, but then you wanted to re-download it. From my understanding, that was going to also count towards the charge as well. Um, so yeah, you can imagine a lot of not happy people about that. Not well, especially developers, gaming publishers and whatnot. They
Hmm.
weren't too happy with that. So there's big backlash, big uproar. Um, I'm trying to think of specific people that came out that spoke against it and just kind of, I mean, they just lit Twitter on fire. I mean, I'm pretty sure you can go out and Google that stuff and see all the vitriol. But
Oh yeah.
yeah, it was a mess, man. And I think a lot of people just feeling like there wasn't a whole lot of transparency behind it, not a whole lot of like explanations such as, okay, what's going to happen when the games are pirated, or if there's illegal or unauthorized downloads, like what does that mean for this going forward? And it's like, oh, we'll work with you. And that's, I think, their biggest thing was, we'll work with you if you just contact us and let us know what's going on with that. It's like, okay, but what does that mean exactly? It's like, do you have an actual policy that kind of? Because I think that's another thing too. Is like, well, trust. We have a system in place that can detect these things, and it's like,
Mm.
okay, we're just gonna take your word for it. It was just a whole
Hmm.
lot of mess, man. Just a whole lot of mess.
I,
And what?
I guess my question is, did they ever say? Probably not, but did they ever mention what the fee would be?
I think
I
on the
think
back
what?
end they might know. I don't think they will release that to anyone that's not a subscriber to their service.
Because
No,
I'm
they
just
did. They put it out there. I'm gonna. Well, y'all go talk. I'm gonna look it up. Try to look it up real quick.
all
I
right.
didn't see anything because I've been trying to find more details on it myself, and I didn't come up with any pricing on it. But apparently they're calling it a runtime fee, which is an interesting name.
That is a very interesting name. That
Oh
is a very
man.
interesting name. That's that. Yeah.
But yeah, I'm just curious. Like, what would they even charge? Like, 50 cent, $1? Like, how do
I
you charge somebody for re-downloading a game or downloading a game in general? Like, isn't that part of buying the game?
Yeah, that's what people are saying.
Like,
Is just like, we pay, because I think that's the thing. They pay for the developers. They pay to access that
mm,
that engine to
okay.
Well,
build their games. And so then it's like, you on top of that, you're saying we got to pay you for the downloads or something. Like, I guess the concept being that you pay for that service to access that engine to do your stuff, like build your game. And that's the thought process of, okay, I pay. It's like thinking about like paying for like Adobe products like Photoshop,
Yeah.
Premiere Pro, something like that, and then they turn right back around and say, okay, for everything that you furnish out there, we're gonna charge you a fee for it. Like every video you publish, every photo that you put out, we're gonna charge a fee on top of that. And it's
hey,
like, but
can
I
we
bought.
edit this? Can we edit this part out? Because I don't want them getting any ideas. Just saying.
Oh God.
Trust me, they're already leagues ahead of what we're talking about here. I assure you, they're probably having a whole lot of conversation on how to screw people in
Mm.
the long run of new ideas. So, but
But
yeah, I get your concern. That's just
can we piggyback on what we were just talking about with digital versus physical copy games? With a
okay.
physical copy game, there's technically no, well, it shouldn't be because back in the day, the whole game fit on the actual CD. But if there is a download, it's that one-time download. You can still play that game as many times as you want, physical copy. But with the actual digital gives you the opportunity to delete the game and put it back on wherever you feel like it because you want to make space on your hard drive. Is
Yeah.
that what Unity is going for? They seeing that is a trend right now to where they are trying to capitalize on that because greed runs their company or runs their actual focus. That this is like this is just a basic thing you like not no devil's advocate, not doing that.
Yeah,
But
man,
as
go for it.
CEO of any type of company that sees a moment of making profit, going fully digital with downloads of games,
Hmm.
Unity being an engine for some of these games, how not to use this opportunity to make more revenue.
So, I, so what I'll say is, from my understanding, the CEO, current CEO, he actually has a history with, I want to say it's EA. I want to say it's
Oh
EA
boy.
because the thing, yeah, I know, right? That's all I had to say. Enough said. But no,
Yeah.
no. So he had a history where apparently there was this conference or something to that effect where he was giving this speech, and I think he was talking to, like, I don't know if it was investors or like one of those investor calls, but he was talking about, hey, imagine the concept of when, like, say Battlefield, you're in the heat of a battle, you go to reload, we charge a fee or we set some kind of fee for you to actually reload the gun, and he was just kind of throwing out there as like a cool concept, like that way he was making it sound. And so, given that history, you know, I think a lot of people are kind of defaulting on that being maybe the driving force behind this whole new idea of doing that kind of thing. Because the thinking is that if he made statements like that in the past, which was egregious, and people were like, "What the heck are you thinking?" You know, why wouldn't he be the one that spearheaded something this crazy? With this new runtime fee.
I mean, did he ever justify his reasoning for it besides greed? Because greed would not be what he would ever say out loud. But did he justify any actual purpose? Like it's because the cost of operating the engines or developing new engines is going
Mm,
towards the research and development. Like did he say anything? Because
not
again, I haven't done much research.
Yeah. No, and I mean, honestly, I'm with you on that. But from what I did see, no, not really. And honestly, I'm not too shocked given that it was from my understanding, I think it was some form of investor conference or something. I think it's something geared towards the investors or people interested in that. So it doesn't, if that's true, if I'm remembering correctly, and that happened, then I wouldn't be too surprised that he would just flat out say that, kind of just throw that out there. Because at the end of the day, it's
Mm,
about money, right? Generating money
yeah.
for those shareholders and investors. So the concept for them may be salivating, like, oh man, the amount of money we can get from that, as opposed to,
Hmm.
if he was talking to like developers or, gamers, I would imagine that kind of would have went well with them as opposed to who you was talking to on that end. So that's why I want to say I
Oh
think he
yeah.
was talking to that crowd, if I'm not mistaken, because if it was anybody else outside of that, I don't see how that would have ever even allowed him to even come to Unity with that after that kind of thing. It's like no. So, yeah, but no, long story short, as far as I know, no, there was no rhyme or reason behind it. Just a concept that he was floating out there.
And it's
Yikes.
just unfortunate because a lot of indie developers use Unity. It's not like these big AAA studios, your Xbox, your Sony, your Nintendo. It's not like these big
Yeah.
companies are out here,
Hmm.
using Unity all the time. A lot of it is the smaller indie developers and everything like that. So it's like,
Yeah.
I feel bad for them, because now it's
Okay.
like, granted, I think they put a pause on this or it's not going through. But I mean, just imagine if this did go through and now you're putting all these extra charges on the customer. Well, now as the customer, as the consumer, as the gamer, I have to make a decision. Well, do I want to play this game? Well, if I
Hmm.
buy it, if I delete it down the road, I have to pay to download it again. I gotta pay these extra fees and stuff. So it could push people away, and then that's terrible for any developers when they need more attention on them. They don't have the big eyes on them as some of these other companies do. So it's just feel bad for them, man. It's just a terrible spot for them to be in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then just to say, like, I think from my understanding, the fee affected just the developers, if I'm not mistaken. I think it didn't. I mean, it might have been in one of those situations where the company that's publishing on that engine may find a way to try to charge it to the customers, but I mean, I doubt it. But I think it was just simply to the developers. So yeah, but to your point, yeah, it's really unfortunate, and I think that's where the biggest blowback and backlash came from was those like you mentioned, those developers, because there was a trust that was established, between the parties, between plenty of them and plenty of other parties that use their engine, and then they go
Yeah.
and do this, and I think from my understanding, they were trying to do some things with the contract because there was something apparently in the contract that stated that they would be, I don't want to say grandfathered into what was currently happening, but something that would allow them to say, hey, this wouldn't work out based on your contract. And they try to go back and change some stuff around so it wouldn't be, it wouldn't stop them from doing this runtime fee thing. So it's just that whole thing. And I think that's the biggest thing that people were really kind of having a conversation about online was just how do you even if, let's say, for example, they backtracked or said, hey, we're just kidding, like the damage is done, it's like you said
Yeah.
this and now we can't trust you because now we know you're thinking of these things to do, these shady scummy things to do, and it's like you may say now, hey, we're not doing it, sorry about that, but then later on you may change and do it. And like some developers have pointed out, or in indies, the developers, like you said, have pointed out that they've already started production into this, and they're in mid production getting ready to do, release a game, and then they hear that news, and then it's like, well, dang, now they got to scramble to figure out, oh man, this might bankrupt us, if we do it
Yeah.
this way, so yeah, it's crazy, dude.
Okay.
It's really unfortunate.
Could, so here's one more thing because I was just
Yeah.
reading this while you were just discussing the
Oh, nice.
topic.
Hey.
Kotaku, Kotaku was claiming, and this is just because the article is not really from the source, it's just their source is that the next version of Unity was where they will be applying this one-time fee. So any games that's currently running on the current version or older version of Unity are not
Hmm.
subjected to these fees. It's only if they upgrade to the next engine is when those fees can apply.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, I didn't even see that part, but that's crazy. Okay. So how do you feel about that? Like, is that like better, or is that still just curious
They
what you
did
think?
that so they can soften the blow because apparently, like you said, that he's walking back on a lot of his terms. This is a walk
Hmm.
back, so it was going to apply to every engine, I guess, but now the new terms are just the next engine is where the one-time fees will kick in. So
Got you.
every
Got you.
contract you have prior stays, you're fine. You're not going to be charged or anything. But it's if you upgrade, just know, be mindful. This is what they're saying.
Got you. Got you.
So it
Yeah,
makes it's really interesting because what's the incentive for these indie developers to stay on Unity, or just developers in general? If they know
hmm
that this is what they want to do
It's
and everything,
cheaper.
why stay?
It's cheaper for them to use Unity. I thought, right? Wasn't like that's how you can
Uh,
break into the gaming industry is by using that engine.
Today now, but as you see, they're trying to include all these price changes. So it might be today, but what about a couple years down the road? You know what I mean? And
hmm
as a developer, especially when you pick an engine, that's like a crucial step in game development, and that's not something that's
Yeah.
easy
Oh
to
yeah.
just flip over and switch. So as a company, you really should be sitting down and thinking, okay, it might be more expensive to go with, let's say, Unreal Engine right now, but long term it might be better for us because they pull this stunt today. Lord knows what they're going to do a year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now, and it takes
Mhm.
years to make this game. You would hate to be in a situation where 3 years into development they implement some other crazy thing that increases the price of this, that, and the third, and now it's too late to switch, or it's going to be a huge cost for you to switch to a whole different engine. So this could put off a lot of developers going forward for Unity.
Oh
It's
my goodness! I didn't want to cut you off, but I just thought about something. What if? And this is just a what if. I don't know. This is popping in my head. What if they
Yeah,
are
I love what
trying to
ifs.
do this? They're trying to do this because AI is coming online for a lot of people that get their hands onto that tool. What if at some point in time you can have your own engine? create it for yourself to use without having to use Unity. Like Bethesda right now have their engine that they don't ever want to break from. But what if anybody like me, you, or just a common person that wants to create their own game, they can use AI to help them create the engine? It will be no need
Mm,
for companies like Unity, anything like that down the line.
hmm.
Oh
Yeah.
God, not
I,
AI.
I mean,
Oh, well,
I,
it's AI is a thing.
I don't know. It's interesting, man. I don't want to rule anything out, man, because unfortunately, unfortunately, depending on who you ask, I guess. But AI is still a very unknown factor. We don't know how much of evolution we're looking at with it. We don't know how wild it's gonna get, or how much it turns out to be safe. I mean, I have my doubts because I watch too many movies, but
Oh boy.
yeah, I mean, I always think Skynet when I hear AI, so that's never a good thing in my head. But anyway, I it's hard to say, Star. Really, I don't. I mean, I don't know. I don't have any pushback against that. I think honestly, you've introduced something that I never even would have thought about. But I mean, who's to say it couldn't?
Yeah, man.
You
The whole
know,
purpose of AI is to
All I
make
know
things a
is
little
that
easier on people. So
all I know is that they might be looking down the line, and so they are trying to basically, and again, not because greed is the first things we always go to when it comes to how these CEOs and companies think. But they also worry about their bottom line. They still want to keep that company afloat, and AI being a threat for so many other industries, it can be a threat for them too. And so they're looking at how to create the money to have the buffer to be able to try to change policies or help influence government to try to stamp away AI for getting into certain industries. Like technically, AI is this elephant in the room for a lot of things now.
I'll say this though, knowing how corporations tend to run for history's sake, anything that could relatively come up that would threaten their bottom line or threaten them in a major way, in a big way, they'll usually find ways to. Because you got to keep in mind, they tend to keep a really strong arm over like politics and government. So I would
Mm-hmm.
imagine that they would try to put some influence on the government to say, I don't care what y'all got to make up. I don't care what y'all got to say. Just make it to where AI is the devil now. And I need y'all to put some
Correct.
regulations in place to keep people from being able to willy nilly go in on and mooch in on our market and do their own AI based engines to build games. Now, y'all need to do something about that. Now, obviously, government's not going to come out and say exactly those words, but they're going to probably put that influence on them to say, hey, look, y'all need to put into it. And I'm just speaking just because it's no secret that they tend to have that influence a lot of times, like especially with lobbying and
Oh yeah.
getting certain politicians ahead of time before they get in office. Is yeah, I can see them kind of being like, yeah, y'all need to do something because we're gonna be hurting, and that's not gonna be good for anybody. It'll turn into like the mafia.
you know, uh, you know who else is hurting right now?
Who was that?
People who bought Mortal Kombat 1 on the Nintendo Switch.
Mm.
I don't think they
I
looking too
mean,
good right now because the game ain't looking too
how
good
they're
right
hurting,
now.
man. I
Well,
saw the gameplay. Looks decent, man. Just leave Nintendo alone, man.
Uh oh.
ooh. Decent is not the word.
Stop it.
Use.
Get some help.
It needs
I like that.
they need some help. And see, here's the kicker that gets me, because Star, I could give you maybe the benefit of doubt. I could be like, all right, well, it's not terrible. It's it's not the worst thing in the world.
Yeah.
Here's the problem. It's $70. It's the
Mhm.
same price as the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X and PC version of the game. Same price. And
Yeah.
It's the
it's
same.
far,
It's the
far.
same trademark franchise.
Yeah, but what you getting, especially because if I'm not mistaken, there was also some false advertising involved for it.
In what
A
way?
little bit, from what I heard. Yeah.
What was it? Were they
Well, let's
showing the
see. It's
trailer?
yeah. I think they showed. I don't know if it was a trailer or whatnot, but I think they showed the play coming from I want to say it came from the PC gameplay.
Oh
And
gosh.
they put like they tried to kind of put like a little logo for like Nintendo on there. And when I say logo, I don't know if they put actual Nintendo logo or if they did like some other type of mascot logo or something on there to kind of pass it off as like Nintendo, like the gameplay is
Hmm.
strictly happening on the Switch or whatever. And
Yeah.
people called them out on that, and it's like, nah, this came from I think it was Steam or something, or I think that's what it was. I think it came from Steam, gameplay.
Yeah.
So it was like, yeah, that was not good.
It's
To,
just
to be transparent, because again, we kind of discussed this prior, but when it comes to trailers, it's not just Nintendo, Sony, or Microsoft. Developers, they put these trailers together prior to the game even being fully fleshed out. They don't even know how the game's going to look and run on most of all these consoles, but the trailer has to come out so they can build the marketing to get these games sold. So a lot of these trailers were already created. And on top of that, when it comes to PlayStation and Microsoft, even in their trailers, they may be using PC graphics to display their game because they again are
Hmm.
trying to put the game in the best light so they can get more people to buy it. So it's not just Nintendo, and I don't think the actual Nintendo or Sony or Microsoft are the ones that come up with the marketing. I think it's up to that developer, and they're the ones that make those decisions and they get approval to be able to put them out there. So I don't know, man.
exactly,
I
Yeah,
don't want to put it
but
and
on
that
Nintendo.
yeah,
approval is the
yeah.
problem. And
Well, see,
don't get me
yeah. Go ahead, go ahead.
don't get me wrong. I'm gonna call it everybody when they do it. When Ubisoft did it with Watch Dogs, that was awful.
Yeah, it was
Don't
pretty
mislead
bad.
people. You know,
Mhm.
um, anybody, Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo, all of them should be ashamed when they do stuff like that. Don't trailer should close as possible mimic the game that you're actually gonna be buying and everything. So none of them
Yeah.
are getting a pass, Nintendo included, because at the end of the day, it's still their platform. They still have say on if this is okay or not. And
Well,
somebody somewhere agreed upon it, and what they put on that platform is just a disgrace. And then to charge full price, that's what gets me. $30,
well,
$20 at a discount, fine. Full price, that's ridiculous.
yeah. So
Not sure that's Nintendo
what?
either.
Well, and see that's why I was gonna go back and with Star, because oh god, what was it? What's the studio that does Mortal Kombat? Is it Warner Brothers? I think it's Warner Brothers,
Mid
right?
They have a
publisher.
partnership. Yeah.
Oh, they a publisher. Okay, that's why I was
I
thinking
think
that. Okay,
Midway is the developer.
right. Yeah, yeah. So, but I'm gonna put Warner Brothers because publisher tends to have the most say on it. I believe it was a Warner Brothers thing where they did all that. And so I definitely would put most of the blame on them for sure. But what you said, kid, actually is why that's one of the reasons why I really like the fact that we're talking about this because I actually wanted to kind of dig into how we felt about the big three and how much should they really be checking for these things, right? And the reason why I say that is because I remember back with like looking at Cyberpunk, for example, and you remember how people were rushing to try to get the refunds back for that game, like especially with Sony. And
Mm.
then people started getting to thinking, it's like, well, wait a minute, like how do y'all let these games on y'all digital store in this type of shape? Do y'all not have any type of review process? Because I think even somebody pointed out that like even with Sony, they have, or sorry, PlayStation, they have like a gold, what they call like a gold. I don't know if it's a gold standard. I don't want to call it that, but it's some kind of
Gold
review
tier.
process. Yeah, it maybe it's that. I don't know if there's exact wording, but they're supposed to have
Mm.
something in place to that degree. And then I remember some people were explaining like, well, it doesn't really exactly work how you think, where they literally go in and check for everything. It's just that I guess they check to see if it just runs. Like they're not really
Hmm.
worried about if bugs exist or whatnot. But I just
Yeah.
think it's fascinating to think about because I'm like, how much should they have in regards to that liability? Like, should they have that? Because hey, yes, at the end of the day, it's not really your game. You're just putting it out for a publisher, developer, whatever. But we're still coming to your store thinking that we're getting a title that we can actually play, that we can actually enjoy or whatever. I mean, mind you, if it's bad for story reasons or whatever, cool. But if it's broken or if it's not running based on at all on what was presented to us, like in
Yeah.
advertisements, shouldn't there be some kind of like retribution for that, like some consequence for those companies that put that on their store, you
I
know?
say yeah.
And so,
Especially
yeah, it's just an interesting thing to think about.
especially since a lot of them are very, very, very stingy when it comes to the refund method.
Right,
if it
and that
isn't
that mhm.
physical.
That definitely plays a big factor too, because you're right. They have stringent
Because
return policies with digital products.
li- like you said with Cyberpunk, they came out and they made a big exception and they made it clear, hey, this is not the norm. This is an
Yeah.
exception. We will let you refund it. And it's just like, why isn't this the norm? That's something I love about Steam. They
Yeah.
have a phenomenal refund process.
Hmm.
It gets a little more complicated when you look at smaller indie games that are shorter to
Hmm.
beat.
Yeah.
But just the refund process is as long as you have not put in more than 2 hours or it hasn't been longer than I think 14 days, you can get your money back. No questions
Right.
asked. So
Right. Yeah.
that, and I've used that plenty of times because there's been, multiple games where either it doesn't run on my computer, it isn't really polished all that well right now, or just I didn't enjoy the game. I thought I was getting this, and instead I got that, and I was able just to go on Steam and immediately get my money back. And so I would love to see some kind of process like that on other platforms, especially if they aren't willing to police and to be a little more strict and allow things like the Mortal Kombat situation to kind of happen. Because I mean I'll just say this: I would have been highly upset if I bought. Well, I mean, if I bought it on Switch and I got that, I would have been like, okay, yeah, now this is a problem.
Yeah.
All
And
right,
to be
I'm
fair
gonna
too,
just
go
put
ahead.
this out here. Yeah, just gonna put this out here.
Hmm.
We all know what the Switch is. It is a hybrid tablet that is nowhere near the power level of the PS5 or Xbox Series. So
Hmm.
when you're making a game that's going to be ported to the Switch, you always going to expect there to be some degrade to the graphics or to the actual performance. So anyone who would have even imagined that the Switch is going to play that game exactly like it's on the PS5, they were only fooling themselves because they own a Switch. They know exactly what the Switch is. So I
Hmm.
don't know. This is a big deal because it's not. They so like I give it up to NetherRealms for allowing that game to be on the Switch because I remember Nintendo has this image of not wanting to have these adult themed games. So for them to even have this game at all is amazing. So again, I'm not sure who had that expectation that the game is going to look like a PS5 version. Don't know why they would think that, even if the trailer wasn't displaying the correct graphics. But no, they were only fooling themselves. There's no way that game would ever have looked the way it would look on the PS5 on the Switch. But mind you,
So,
on the
mhm.
Switch right now, it looks like a Switch version of this game. It looks like how the port will look on a tablet or a hybrid.
So I'll break it down in this way, just because, like, to your what you were saying, there's definitely a lot of people who have basically said, "Dude, did y'all not see the last Mortal Kombat on Switch? I mean, come on, yeah, you
Exactly.
should have saw this happening, right?" I will say that the biggest points that I think I could give a little credit to, and when I say little, I'm not trying to diminish their stances, but I'm trying to just say that I can lean towards the two biggest issues that they probably would have with it. One being the price for sure of being $70, and
Yes.
two with the way the trailer came out. Like if the trailer kind of came out and did show the game as it truly stands on Switch, meaning that it encompassed every type of pixel of how the models look in the game, like the characters look in the game, instead of showing the Steam version of it, then I think there could be more of a case where people would have to kind of reach that point of, well, I mean, yeah, it's on the Switch. I mean, you can't expect it to run like super duper well like on a high end PC or PS5 or Xbox Series X. But I just think it's those two biggest factors that really didn't sit well. And to add to that too, Star, for the people who are in the know that knew that that knew better tend to expect that. I think that yes, they can kind of sit on that moral of what you said. But I think for others to keep in mind, there are people who are coming into this market not really knowing much about it. They just came into it maybe because they heard from a friend that hey, the Switch is pretty fun, and I like Mortal Kombat, so let me get into it without knowing any history. You know what I mean? Like, oh, knowing that the only thing they knew was, hey, the trailer came out. It looks great. Let me go and pay for it. $70 is high, but hey, it's Mortal Kombat. I'm getting on the Switch, whatever. Oh God, what is this? Like, what? You know what I mean? So I want to put that out there because that's kind of a fair thing to say.
I
Hey,
I would
not
say
everybody's going to be in that realm.
I would say this: the Switch version of the game looks
Hmm.
good. I'm serious because that game to be running on the Switch for how they did it, because most ports, they try to use Nintendo as just a cash grab. They don't put too much effort into their games and they port things over sometimes. NetherRealm did a great job with this port. So I know that we are taking away from the idea of how much they're charging for it. They got nothing to do with Nintendo. That has everything to do with everyone else, I guess. So
Hmm.
we can talk about that while the pricing different, but I still feel like if they had to put in the money, effort, and time and have workers make that port, the game should cost what the game should cost. It's not, we don't charge a game based on how well it's going to look. We charge the game based on the development and basically what type of profits you want to make off of that development in time. So the game might still should cost $70, even though it may not look like a PS5. But all I want to say right now is that
Hmm.
is a Nintendo Switch. If anyone hasn't known this yet, hopefully we get more viewers and listeners so we can help educate them. The Nintendo Switch does not have the capacity and power to compete with the PS5 and the Xbox. So any games ports wise, don't ever expect them to look with the ratio 1 to 1. It's not going to happen. So just
So
educating people.
so first, I just want to say, I think you're the only person in the world to say it looks good because it looks awful. This is disgusting looking, especially when you include the price and it being 2023. Disgusting graphics. It's terrible looking. But as you were talking, I found this article from Nintendo Life, and I just want to read this little section real quick because this is actually really slimy. If it wasn't already enough to deal with, Nintendo fans now have spotted a Steam notification for what seems to be where'd it go? For what seems to be an achievement in the official Mortal Kombat 1 Switch trailer. This
That's
video,
what it
here's the
was.
kicker. Here's the kicker. This video was uploaded directly to Nintendo's YouTube channel before being set to private. So I'm sorry, that is just slimy. They took, like you said, PP, the Steam gameplay and uploaded it directly to Nintendo's YouTube channel. I listen, I'm sorry.
So that
That
same
right there is a
Steam,
slimy
so
move.
that same Steam gameplay, is that what's displayed for the PS5? Is that the same that was displayed for the Xbox? Because those
It,
actual Steam graphics won't actually be the exact representation for the PlayStation 5.
Well,
So
that kind of depends though too. Given the specs of the PC. I mean, if we assume high end
correct.
PC, I mean, I wouldn't say that it would absolutely be an exact match, but I would say it would probably be close enough to say,
close
there wouldn't
enough,
be.
yeah.
And
Yeah,
that's
I
what
don't think
and
people would
Not
notice a real big difference between the two. No.
not as night and day as the Switch version compared to
Yeah,
the console
that's what I would.
versions and the
That's
PC
what I would kind of
version.
say on that. Yeah.
and
And
yeah,
it's
that's what
just
I'm saying. It's a
for
Switch.
for them to upload it directly to the Switch's Nintendo's own YouTube channel. I think it's a really bad
And
look
you said they
because
said
it's
they're private. You're saying Nintendo said it they're private,
yeah,
or?
they set it to private, so they realized, hey, maybe
Oh
this wasn't the
wow,
best call. Yeah.
wow. So I
You
wonder
know,
if behind the
if
scenes,
they
I
took
wonder if behind the scenes they're really pissed off about it. Then.
They
maybe
probably
if they
are.
took gameplay
Oof.
from the Switch and uploaded that as a trailer, fine, by all means. It is what it is. You know what I mean? You're
Yeah.
absolutely right, Star. The Switch is not a big powerhouse and can't run the same graphic fidelity as the
Ever.
Xbox or PlayStation.
Hmm.
Yeah, exactly, or the PC. But the fact it's like they were masking it and like trying to disguise it and say, "Oh no, look, yeah, look, this is the gameplay," and it's like uploaded directly by Nintendo, and then hey, again, $70. I don't know, man. It's just it's a really scumbag move. I think it's an L not only from the developers and publishers, but from Nintendo as well. That's just awful.
Again, Nintendo has zero to do with that. And again, I went through the reviews. I saw some of the gameplay. I can say this much: when it comes to a portable system, the actual game looks amazing on that screen. But if you were to place it on a TV, a 4K TV, yes, by all stretch of the imagination, you are not going to want to play that as your console game. You want to go to a PS5 or Xbox or to PC. But if you're going to school or you're on a bus, train, whatever, on your Switch screen on the portable, it looks amazing. Saw people talking about it. They said, "Listen, it's not the best actual looking game on the TV, but if you're on the go, I'm glad to have Mortal Kombat." And that's what the Switch actually brings to the market. It's a portable system. So I'm not going to sit here and just get caught up in whatever you want to call this right now, the witch hunt of Nintendo. I just feel like they brought a actual product that gives you an additional way of playing, and on top of that, it still looks great because it is based on the screen size. You can't get 4K on that tiny screen. It looks amazing. Again, I was reading reviews, people who own it, honest reviews. They are not complaining the way that we are complaining right now. So, don't know. I don't know.
I mean, I don't know if it's complaining as it's just calling out. It's like any type of thing where, like, let's say if I saw a console like a PC put out in the store for like 1,500, and that stuff started falling apart or overheating or catching fire. Oh, I'm definitely going to say something, and even if they're like, well, hey, I'm sorry, but we had to charge for it because of the components we use. I was like, well, either you screwed the components up or you weren't completely honest with us about the risk, or something, or you grease some pockets to get it through the safety measures or something, like, you know what I mean? I guess to that end, yeah, I think it's still worth calling out, like, regardless of the intent,
Yeah,
just because that's some
because
stuff that you go
if
ahead.
you
I'm
don't
sorry.
call them out, they're gonna keep going.
Oh, absolutely. Well, and not only the going part, it gets worse because then they can kind of see that, oh
Oh
yeah, we can
yeah.
do what the hell we want because people are just going to accept the fact that, hey, as long as we come out and say, well, we tried or we did this, hey, it's all good. They have no choice but to eat it. And I'm like, that won't fly too much, not for that.
So so real quick,
But
I was just
go
Hey,
ahead. I'm sorry.
NetherRealm, I'm just going to say, I would say one thing in NetherRealm. I think the port was amazing to have it running on the Switch. I think we are really glossing over how you were able to get this to run on the Switch. So thank you for the
well,
effort, is all I'm saying.
Well,
we
I'll
see
tell you
we
what,
see
I
how
don't
they
think
got it to
that.
run on the Switch
Well,
because the
no, but listen,
graphics
I
are
don't.
terrible.
But to be fair, like, NetherRealm, like, I think because who has them? Isn't it that dude, that the co-creator of Mortal Kombat? Doesn't he head NetherRealm, or is that Midway still?
Mike
I
Boom,
thought it was
whatever his
Ed
name
Boon.
is.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because I think he made a comment about it, and based on how he commented about the whole experience, it almost sounds as if it was something that was out of his hands because he was just like, yeah, we would have. I think how did he say it? He said, I think he was like, ideally we would have wanted to release in this state or something to that effect, and people kind of pick that up as, oh, so you didn't really have really nothing to do with it. So like, yeah, y'all kind of saw ahead of time probably, from that statement that, yeah, no, it definitely needed to, either stay in the oven some more or whatever the case, but I guess the powers that be came in, is like, nah, y'all need to put this out same time as everything else.
It
You know
got
what I mean? Like,
deadlines. Yeah,
hmm?
yeah, but you gotta remember this. You gotta remember this when it comes to what you call, I guess, damage control, because you have people who haven't purchased the game or
Hmm.
bought the game that's sitting here putting, dirt on its name. They have to do damage control for those people, while the ones who did buy the game don't have those complaints. So he's trying to just try to put out that fire, even though that fire wasn't even necessary because it's a Switch port of a very high res graphical game. So again, I don't know how. I don't get it. I really don't get it. I want to understand it, but I don't get it.
well, it's just like
Well,
I
like I
said, one false marketing because it was on the official Nintendo page, so it's just kind of like, hey, that's not what we're
Okay,
buying,
that
so you shouldn't
part,
put that
that
out.
part I get.
But then also
well,
again,
That part I
it's
get.
seventy
But people who
dollars.
bought the game
well,
likes the game. But we talked about that.
yeah. Well, like I said, I'll put it this way. I see that, because I know there's gonna be plenty of people that have that perspective you have, Star, that goes along with the fact that, hey, it's Switch, okay, come on now. So there's that, but then you do also, again, I like to keep in mind that there are plenty of other people who aren't necessarily going to be savvy in that world. They're not going to really know of that. All they're going to know is, hey, I got this thing expected to run a certain kind of way based on what I saw presented out there, and it's not
Yeah,
doing that. So that's why I want
think
to kind
about
of look at it
parents.
from the right, and that's why I want to kind of take that perspective of measure on it. I'm not necessarily saying that I'm not trying to say right or wrong. I'm just trying to say that they may have a different perspective on that, and I just think it's worth kind of like at least respecting that. You can, because like almost like agree to disagree kind of stance where it's like, look, I feel like this is something you should have seen. But if you feel like differently because you don't have the kind of like exposure to that world, or you wouldn't really know what to expect, then hey, you know I can kind of understand that part. But for me, I know better because hey, it's a Switch. I know what it's intended for, whereas they maybe not have that mindset still. You know what I mean? So that's why I would
I
just
get
kind of
that. I
put
get
out
that.
there. Yeah.
So just last thing I want to mention, I ended up pulling up a video of the IGN is just kind of showing the differences.
Oh
There's two
gosh.
comments I just kind of want to point out real quick. One, didn't know they still made PS2 games. I found that
Oh,
pretty funny. But
hey,
then
who said that? I want to get a credit.
Wreck-It Ralph 4616. It's a phenomenal
Okay.
name.
Okay.
And then Star, this is right up your alley. It's almost like what you've been saying this entire time. The excuse of Nintendo fans: graphics don't make up the game. And that was
Actually,
Eteron 435.
Okay. Interesting.
But
I was
speaking of the,
say this much right now because
Mm-hmm. Oh, did
I
you
think
cut out?
I think he's breaking up.
Oh no.
next commentator
Uh oh.
that have the most likes probably didn't buy the game. Was it going to buy the game?
He's like cutting it in
Oh
now.
yeah, you cutting out, Star. I think they found you, man. I think they found you, man. I think
Oh
I
God,
don't know if you can
not
hear us.
today.
Yeah.
Game,
Hey,
but
Star.
can't carry a PS5 on your back and take it on the bus.
Oh God.
Star. Star, can you hear us?
I can hear you now, but it seemed like we
Okay.
are having audio issues.
Yeah, I was about to say
Yeah,
because
you
were
were.
cutting out. You were cutting out. I was like, I wanted to get your attention so bad. I was like, dude, they found you, man. They said, hold on, they found you. They shut your audio off.
yo, yeah, I said, but you were cutting out for me, so I wasn't sure it was ever
interesting.
my end, but it could be my network. Yeah, it could be my network.
I think it might have been you because I think BP and I were fine.
Yeah, my bad. I didn't want to stop. I just you whatever it's just you were cutting out, so I didn't want people to miss out on everything you were saying.
Oh, I was just saying, I was just applauding NetherRealm again for allowing this game to run on the Switch so I can take it on the go, because that is the whole
Nice.
purpose of the Switch. So kudos to them.
Hey, I give you
NetherRealm,
this,
man. Reach out to your boy Star, okay? Y'all need to reach out.
From what I've seen, the frame rate looks decent. I give you that. Listen, if you would have had terrible graphics and terrible frame rate, that's a real big problem.
Thing. It's not terrible graphics because it's on a I think it's like a 11-inch screen. It's like it looks pretty daggone good on the go. Like it is really a game on the go. Like
we just gonna have to disagree. We just gonna have to agree to disagree because
man.
I could pull out my phone and get 10 times better graphics on my phone. And it's a much smaller screen than the Switch, so we just gonna have to agree to disagree.
You're not going to get a port of that game on your phone to look as good as the Switch. You're not going to get a port, sir.
Aren't they porting Resident Evil 4 on the iPhone?
And just wait to see how that looks.
So, speaking of Nintendo, there was a huge leak. Well, actually, some people are saying one of the biggest leaks in gaming history, and it was a lot of information. I kind of feel a little bit bad. I mean, you're talking about like years upon years of planning and like future releases, not only just games but hardware, new consoles, new controllers, just so much plans and like so much insider information was leaked. All of this, of course, coming from Xbox and the whole FTC case going on.
Drama.
Yeah, there's a whole lot of information on that. New consoles, mid-generation refresh, controllers, stuff with Bethesda, Elder Scrolls 6 supposed to come out 2024, all that fun stuff. What really caught my attention and what I wanted to kind of talk about with us, let's put our like hypothetical caps on and take a trip down imaginary lane. One of the things that came out was, again, we heard about Xbox wanting to purchase Nintendo. Of course, as we know, as of right now, nothing officially is going on. And personally, I think we all agree they probably will never be bought out, especially by Xbox. I don't see Nintendo selling themselves off. But again, I want to just take a trip down imaginary lane, right? Mm-hmm. What would a world look like if Xbox were to buy Nintendo? How would that look? Would that be a good thing? Would it be a bad thing? What would they do with Nintendo?
Start off.
Oh, I'm not touching this.
Oh, you still
wow.
Nope. Come on, man. Give the people a little bit of taste, man. Come on. I know you got something tucked in there.
The only thing that I would say is that, and again, transparency, me and BP talked about this in the past. I have in my background working with, I guess you say Windows and OS, I know of a certain pattern when it comes to Microsoft and their end game to a lot of things. And I don't ever want to applaud any type of purchase from Microsoft. I just dread the idea of Microsoft purchasing anything. So that's I'll leave it at that. So yeah,
Gotcha. Kind of like a
Short and
soul crushing
sweet.
thought.
correct.
Gotcha. Okay. Um, man, it's hard to really even wrap my head around it because it's so far down the likelihood of it happening that it's just hard to even imagine. You know what I mean? Like, you know how you just run across certain things where it's hard for you to even use your imagination because you're just like, it's the idea of it's so laughable. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's not even worth my brain entertaining it.
Dang.
But it's just, yeah, it's hard to really even wrap my head around it. But I will say that if it ever somehow happened to, if it ever happened and Nintendo really was that desperate and found themselves in like a Sega situation where they're like, hey, what are we gonna do next?
Mm-hmm.
And that happened, I don't see that I just can't see it being properly utilized because I've never really seen much of Microsoft as far as innovation goes. And when I say innovation, I'm not just speaking of innovation in the general sense. I'm speaking of innovations like Nintendo has always put forth. They've always kind
Yeah.
of went against the grain in their history. You know, like when matter of fact, going back in the days with Atari and the Colecos or whatever, and you know Nintendo was just about to come around, the
Way
gaming industry
back.
was taking a hit. That's a way back machine. I'm sorry. Yeah, just might want to get that out there. So, but it, so but no,
Wow.
like well, it was funny because I was actually watching this video not so long ago, and I gotta find that clip because I really want to share it, and I thought it had some insights to it, but it was talking about the history of Nintendo and things of that nature. And again, the gaming industry back then, around when Nintendo was about to come out, wasn't really in the best place at all.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I think this is around time when ET had come out. I don't remember what system it was. I think it was Was it Atari? Star, help
I,
me out.
I
Was it?
I
It
think it
was
was
Atari.
Atari.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
Atari. Okay, so that took a massive hit, and you know there was a lot of shakiness in the gaming, like the shaky confidence in the gaming realm. And here goes Nintendo, like, nah, B, we got this. We're gonna blow y'all out of the water, even with their own amidst their own concerns. Like they were, you know, well, I don't know if so much internally, but maybe from their background, there were maybe concerns like, y'all really want to do that? I mean, come on, guys, it's kind of a dying market. And they're like, nah, because we got something up our sleeves that's gonna just shock the world. Like they had that vision, and that's not an easy vision to carry, considering the level of uncertainty that then, you know what I mean? Especially back in the days where things were so much more rigid, things were so much more like, hey, we need to be sure about this, X, Y, Z, that, and nah, here goes Nintendo. Like, man, look, no, we'll just go out there and do our thing, do what we want to do. So, I
Yeah.
just, I said all that, kind of ran on a little too much. Apologize, but point
You're
is,
fine.
Microsoft's. I just never really seen that from them. Not to say they're never innovative. It's just that they were never outside the box innovative. So
That's
immediately, if
fair.
they were to take the reins of Nintendo, outside of them just kind of going with whatever Nintendo had at that time to, you know, kind of bolster it forward, anything beyond that, like any new type of tech that they can kind of think of or dream about, I just, man, I just don't see them really doing much with that. I think it would
Yeah.
kind of go the way of Sega, where it's like, we'll do games, but as far as hardware, none of that. Shoot, nah, that would. Mm.
Yeah, that's it's definitely from what I'm seeing and hearing from a lot of people kind of are taking that approach as well, which is definitely understandable. Um, me personally, I'm really conflicted about it. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I can't say one way or another if I like it or not. Um, I will say this: it excites me if it were to happen, only because what I would love to see happen, like again, Fantasyland. My dream vision for this type of acquisition, this type of merger, would be for Xbox to still give Nintendo autonomy, especially when it comes to like making a console. So we still get a Switch 2, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But I would love to see Xbox in the background supporting them with that hardware because as I've said on the show plenty of times, don't get me wrong, I love the Switch. I think it's a great console. I think it's a great I want to call it a gimmick, but a great concept.
Mm-hmm.
And I listen, I put so many hours on that thing. It's a phenomenal piece of hardware. My only complaint that's been, and it's been the same one for years at this point, is the hardware. It's just lacking, man. It needs more powerful hardware. So
Mm-hmm.
in this dream land, I would love to see a situation where Xbox gives them some technology or something, some ways that you still have the concept of the Switch, but you have more powerful hardware behind it. Even if it's technology that's in the Series S right now, you know, it's not the best. It's not, you know, that 4K um, 60 frames per second, and blah blah blah. But it's still putting out high quality, good frame rates, and it is a much better piece of hardware. And so I would love to see kind of that go into it, and we just get that next Switch, whatever, just better and improved when it comes to the hardware department. That to me
Uh,
just would be phenomenal. Chef's kiss.
I would say this much, and again, I don't want to, rag on Microsoft. When it comes to
You know
hardware,
you do. Go ahead.
no, but when it comes to hardware, they chase power. And again, with the Nintendo's concept and again being innovators, they're not chasing power. Power is not innovative. They are chasing what I would consider what is a game. They are making games. And so when they are coming up with the hardware, they want to try to make these games accessible to many people, many walks of life. Not everybody cares for power, but there's a lot of people that don't have enough time in their day to always be home to play these powerful systems. So when they had to cut this, the department for their Game Boy, which again, Game Boy was their games outselling all the other systems. Like Game Boy was not about power, but their games were outselling most of these other systems' games. So when they collapsed that department and merged it with the main Nintendo, they basically made this hybrid system called the Switch. The Switch wasn't supposed to be about power. That was not their goal. And they put that out from the beginning. They are making a hybrid system that is going to be able to play on the TV and on the go. When the technology and battery life gets to the point where they can then use power so that it can still be on the go, I can see them moving into that direction. But for right now, they are just doing what the technology limits them to do, but still put out amazing games.
Like I said, Dreamland, they have the best of both worlds. We have the functionality of the Switch with the power of an Xbox, PlayStation, whatever, that better technology behind it, just the best of both worlds. And that to me just would be phenomenal. And not necessarily saying I want to play Halo on this Switch too. I mean, that could be pretty cool. I wouldn't be opposed to something like that. I still would want to see these Nintendo type games come out. I just give them that hardware, give them that nudge to make it a little bit more powerful and to hey, I would love to see Mortal Kombat 1 run how it does on the Xbox and PlayStation as it does on the Switch. I would love to see that. That to me would be phenomenal,
Well,
and
they coming up with was it the DSSL? I think I'm doing that acronym wrong. This that AI system allows you to
DLSS.
build.
I think it's
Yeah, there we
DLSS.
go.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that might allow it to happen, but again, it's a portable system, so that power is not going to happen with some of those chipsets. It's just not going to be a thing. But they want this system to still be portable.
And let me, and if I may interject, when
No.
kid going back to I know, right? You're gonna want to hear. Well, you probably won't hear this actually, but uh, going back to that statement you meant about the high tech, being provided by Microsoft. I'm gonna put an asterisk by that because let's
All right.
not pretend that Microsoft doesn't have its share of issues when it comes to tech. Okay, like I for one, I mean, you already know how I get down when I talk about my complaints for Microsoft, like Windows and things like that. And that's one of the things I was thinking about the whole time we were talking. Like, God, like you imagine there were drivers and stuff from Microsoft in there, and you would get all kind of bugs you never knew existed. I'm like, yeah, I don't know, like, because that's one thing for Nintendo. Like, I just can't recall, and I'm not saying they never had any hardware issues or issues, any issues with their stuff, but to the magnitude of Microsoft and their tech, uh, no, yeah, that's a big turnoff for me, man. Like I'm getting upset just thinking about some of the Microsoft stuff I had to deal with, like when it comes
Dang.
to their products.
The red
So
ring of
that
death,
be,
you didn't like that? The blue screen of death, you didn't like
oh
that?
man,
I mean,
who didn't like that, right? I mean, who
that was
didn't want to
amazing.
face the fact that their brick, their console brick died on them? That was amazing times. That's a great
Uh,
example, Star.
those are
So
fun days. Good
those
old
are
red
really
ring of
fun
death.
days. Although I will give them credit
Ah,
and say that they did, do the work and make replace people's stuff and give them that long, what was it, extended warranty for like 3 years or something. So I'll give them
mhm.
that credit.
Mm,
But it's the point that that kind of stuff happened.
yeah, just had to
You
go through
know,
it.
that it
Yeah.
blue screens the death and stuff. Like I don't. That's ugh, God. That just makes my skin crawl, man. So I understand this fantasy world, like, and I know when you're fantasy take, you're taking it from the best of, right? You're looking at it from the best of what they have to offer. But I just can't help
Yeah.
but zone back into reality with that tech. Like, nah, man, Microsoft. Oh, it
Yeah,
can be hit or
they
miss sometimes.
they definitely still have their faults. I will
A-
absolutely give you that because yeah,
And
that
one
Red
other
Ring
quick
of
thing.
Death was crazy.
And one other quick thing too. Another thing is, and it's leading back to that leak, the Microsoft leak we're talking about. One other thing that would concern me is, let's say, for example, they did do it. Knowing what we know about what was talked about behind the scenes, where they were mentioning about how, like Phil Spencer was talking about how they was imagining Game Pass to be really successful, and where he wanted it to be by 2024, or else they're gonna pull
Mm,
out of the gaming industry. That's
mm.
concerning. That's kind of deeply concerning. So, to Star's point, that could lead to a point of, if they did acquire Nintendo and then say, hey, our sales aren't really doing that great. Oh, it's time to shut everything down. That's concerning, man, because that's like not giving a lot of people confidence,
Yeah,
or really displaying Microsoft having a lot of confidence in their stuff. So that's another reason why I would be like, ooh, that. Mm.
yeah, that kind of reminds me of EA. Buying studios like Visceral and then just shutting them
Oh
down years later, and
God,
it's like,
God,
come
please
on,
don't
man.
say that, man. That makes me
Yeah,
almost cry,
it's
man.
so yeah, that's definitely not a great comment. They kind of hear from my boy Phil. He definitely dropped the ball with that one, unfortunately. But
Yeah.
I guess the good thing is we don't have to worry about it because I don't think Nintendo gonna be bought by anybody no time
Oh
soon.
no, no. But that was a good laugh, man. That was a good laugh they had on that one. Gosh, it's like the
Oh
nerf of this
man.
guy, cause he was sounding pretty confident in this thing too. Like, it's taking a little more time than we thought, but it could happen. And I was like, okay, man, you keep that dream alive, that hope alive, man.
Exactly. Well, fellas, I think that just about does it, don't you?
I
Oh
think
yeah.
so, man. I think so. I think it's time for Star to get some food, right? Right, Star?
Technically, not yet. It's not late enough.
What?
Oh my God. Well, why am I saying
Huh?
oh my God? It's not like I don't know this about you. So I guess to me, I guess I'm just, sometimes it still throws me. Dang.
Yeah,
So what
yeah,
time?
it's
Like,
a thing.
well, I'm not even gonna go into the time because God knows when people are gonna really hear this. But yeah, man. I mean, okay, still early. I get it.
Well, as always, we appreciate y'all listening to us ramble for a little bit,
Yeah.
bickering like old folks do and everything like that.
Hey man, speak for yourself, man.
Oh,
I'm not. I'm
dang.
not.
All
I'm not
right.
glorifying that. I
All
used
right.
to, but now I'm kind of cutting that out.
BP, you want to plug the socials?
I could, so basically, I know, right? Just like the socials. No, so yeah, just as usual, you can check us out on our webpage, www.podpage.com/gamercredits. That's pretty much going to direct you to all of our outlets that we have: YouTube, Spotify, Google Podcasts, things of that nature. So just pick your vice. And also, we have polls that'll come up through, I think, Spotify, if I'm not mistaken. I'm gonna start trying to putting polls up on YouTube. So if y'all don't mind, just kind of check them out. Give us some feedback through there, and also give us feedback on the episode. Let us know, what you enjoyed, what you liked, what you didn't. Who you agree with the most. Things of that nature. So that would
And
really
why is
help
it
out.
me?
Oh
And
God,
what console do you own? Because I think that's
that's a
a good thing to kind of to know about our listeners. What consoles they own.
That'd be good. Yeah, yeah. Let us know what consoles you own. What's your preferred one? If you have all three, or you're a diehard PC
Oh
gamer.
God.
Yeah, PCer, man. That's yeah, that happened. That flew out my mouth.
Mhm.
So I had to do it. I'm sorry. I just I need a
Yeah,
soundboard.
yeah. Mm.
So anyway, yeah, y'all check us out and let us know. And I guess that's it, kid. So
Yeah.
I guess we
Well,
good. Anything you
yeah.
got, Sar?
Oh no, I'm good. About to
No
go ahead
album
and
that you
jump on
dropping?
Destiny.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I'll be on there too. So cool. All right, y'all. Well, that'll do it.
Let's get it.
All right. Peace
Peace.
out, y'all.
One love.
Later.